There are two ways in which we look at our lives. In the first way, our mental point of origin is that we don't want to get harmed. And that's a life that emerges from a sense of fear. Because when you don't want to get harmed, that means that you're not willing to explore anything that is unfamiliar to you. You're not willing to explore anything which is going to have a lot of uncomfortable situations in it. And when you are constantly focused on having that kind of a life where you just want to pass by, where you are not willing to get hit by anything which is uncomfortable, what's going to happen is that your ability to explore different things is going to come down, and your natural ability to deal with risks is also going to come down. And when you don't have a very strong mindset through which you can deal with those situations which are going to involve a lot of risk, that means that you're looking for a life of comfort. You're always seeking those opportunities through which you can ease down a bit, through which you can tone down the intensity of the situation a bit, because you're not willing to deal with anything which is going to create any kind of pain and suffering within you. Even if it is at the lowest level, you're not even willing to stay in pain for a while so that you can make your life comfortable. You're absolutely focused on escaping and avoiding any kind of painful situation that can come your way as a result of you trying to explore different things. When you have that kind of a mindset, and when you're constantly in the pursuit and in the need, and you're absolutely craving those situations in which there is absolute pleasure, what's going to happen is that you will stop growing. And that means that you're not pushing yourself to get at or get on an upward trajectory. And when you're not at an upward trajectory, that means that you're constantly going down. That means that you're constantly dying, because there is nothing static in this world. Everything is fluid. If you're not going up, you're going down. You're not staying at the same situation for an extended period of time. That's how the life functions. And when you start coming down, what happens is that you start losing your energy as well as your time. And as a result of that, since you don't have the ambition that you need in order to move forward, and you are constantly losing your energy because you're not using it, you're going to lose your charm and vigor, because charm comes from ambition and vigor comes from action. And when you're not working on both of these things, you're constantly coming down. You're constantly escaping those things that could have created a very, very meaningful life for you, because you're in the pursuit of a comfortable life. So, as a result of that, when you lose your ambition, what's going to happen is that your mind will start becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. Now, a person who is constantly putting himself through stressful situations is going to look at such a person who's going to be perceived as a person who is absolutely content with the life he has. He has a simple life in which he doesn't have to take any risks, and he's absolutely content with that. And sometimes, when you're under stressful situations, that kind of life can actually become attractive to you, because you're going to think that you can have a life just like this person. But what you don't know is that under behind the curtains, or under the surface, that superficial comfortable life that you're witnessing right now, there is something really, really miserable which is going on beneath the surface. And this is something that you should be absolutely staying away from, because that's what misery is all about. So, when you have that kind of a mindset where your mental point of origin is always to think from the perspective of a fearful person, your life is going to become miserable. However, there is another way in which life can be perceived, and that's when your mental point of origin is that, what if you were not afraid? What if there were no limitations placed on your ability to achieve anything that you want to achieve in life? That is the mindset of a professional. That is a mindset of a person who wants to explore different things in his life. That's the mindset of a person who is constantly thinking about those opportunities that can give him all the pain in the world and all the suffering in the world, and he can actually go through them and he can level up. Because that kind of a person is running in his own race. That kind of a person does not have any kind of competition. So when you have that kind of a mindset where you're not thinking from the perspective of how can you escape pain, and you shift it and divert your attention towards what if you were not afraid, what happens is that you are going to be looking at those opportunities that are going to be revealed to you that cannot be witnessed by a person who is living under the ambit of fear. And those opportunities are going to give you a way forward because you have an appetite for battle and you have an extreme tolerance for stress. You know everything about pain and you know everything about suffering. You know that that uncertain and unfamiliar situation is a terrain that if you make yourself comfortable with it, you create a lot of momentum and you will create such addiction to that pain that you are not even thinking about the process. You are not even thinking about the outcome. You have no interest in how the life is going to become comfortable as a result of you moving constantly forward because you are absolutely focused at the process. When you have that kind of a mindset, that's where the mental toughness is born. And when you're mentally tough and you're consciously doing those things that are hard, that means that now you're going to have a meaningful life. So, when you're looking at your life through the lens of someone who is constantly focused on doing those things that he will do when he was not afraid, or he is constantly trying to explore those things that under the present circumstances they are not possible to be achieved, but even then he's focused on them and he's working on those things from the perception that he will do them if everything was right. He knows that these things are the main source of his fulfillment and he's not willing to give them away. That is the main reason behind a life of fulfillment, which seems to be stressful, but at the end of the day, it is something which is going to bring you that fulfillment that you're looking for in the long term. Because when you do hard things, they're going to make your life comfortable. But if you do easy things, they're going to make your life hard in the long term. So, the main agenda of all of that discussion is that you must aim to become professional. You must not be a person who is constantly afraid of putting himself in the limelight and actually working his tail off. You must not be that person. So, if you have that capacity and you think that you can become a professional, if you think that you can work for a long period of time without any reward and you can absolutely put yourself and devote yourself to the process, here are 5 characteristics that are found in each and every professional. And whenever you're working on those traits and on those characteristics, you're actually building a solid foundation for a meaningful life. Now, the first characteristic is that the professional he always focuses on the end result. And once he focused on the end result and he knows that that is the outcome that he's looking for, after that, he just completely forgets about it. And he builds his action plan. And that action plan is not focused that how can he avoid pain and find easy ways through which he can achieve that outcome. Because now the achievement of that outcome is not even an issue. His main characteristic and his main focus is going to be that what kind of a person is he going to become if he achieves all of the things that are on the list. And these are not the list of having a car or having a plane or having a mansion. It's like, if I go through that pain, what kind of character trait am I going to develop? If I go through that suffering, if I go through that kind of stressful situations, what kind of characteristics of competence am I going to develop as a result of that? So that person is more focused on leveling up his competence instead of focusing on what kind of tangible material things can he accumulate as a result of that, because he knows that if he's competent, all the material things that he wants are going to be a byproduct of that. So his happiness, his contentment, and his satisfaction is not focused on becoming a person who possesses those things. He wants to possess those characteristics which are going to give him those things at a silver platter. So he's not even concerned about that. He's just focusing on the activity. And once he knows what are the results that he's looking for, he's measuring his success in terms of the level of competence that he's achieving with every passing day. The second characteristic of a professional is that he's absolutely focused on staying alone. He just loves solitude, and it actually separates him from 99.99% of the people who are constantly looking for an exciting company to hang with. And he is just focused on how to keep himself alone because he knows that creativity is not going to come if he is surrounded by idiots. He knows that if he wants to do anything meaningful, he'll have to do it alone. He'll have to stay alone for an extended period of time in order to create something that is going to be meaningful. But once he starts reaping the benefits of being alone, what's going to happen is that that process is going to become addictive because it is going to create so much momentum for him that he will not be willing to give up his ability to stay alone for longer periods of time for anything else in the world. And that's when he's going to double down on the efforts and quadruple the efforts of moving forward, because at that particular moment even defeat will not be able to divert his attention from the work that he's producing, because the end result is never the goal. Leveling up his competency is the main goal. So even if he gets defeated, what's going to happen is that he's going to focus that, okay, now I have been defeated, so I will have to work 2 times, 10 times, 20 times, 25 times more than my opponent, and the next time I'm going to shock the world by the level of work that I'm going to put in, and I'm going to defeat my enemy so badly that it will be remembered for a long period of time. That's the mindset that a professional has. He's not afraid of the solitude. The third quality that he has, and it is something which is very special and you need to understand this. The third quality that he has is that he's trying to create quality out of a lot of quantity, which means that he's not focused on he's not just focused on the quality. That means there are some people who are working on a project and they're not willing to release it until it is absolutely perfect. The professional is not like that. He's constantly and consistently producing a lot of work because he knows that perfection is not in his hands. But if he remains consistent with the process, and if he absolutely works on those things which are supposed to be worked on, the work that he's going to create, a time is going to come that some work of quality is going to be produced and it is going to create the kind of results that he's looking for. So he's just not focused on the quality, he's creating a magnificent amount of quantity, and out of that he knows that at the end of the day the quality is going to come out. The next thing which actually emerges from this third quality, that he's creating a lot of quantity and he's putting it out. Once you're putting out a lot of stuff with all of its imperfections, because you're focused on delivering the outcome through the activity that you're producing, he simply does not give a damn what the other people are thinking of him. He is absolutely content and satisfied with his own work, and he doesn't have any kind of restriction or any kind of resistance towards what other people are going to think about him. So he's just focused on the work that he's producing. What other people are saying is not a matter of concern from him. Either they love him or hate him. He is not even focused on those things. He's just focused on how that work is going to be produced. Now, the last thing is that when he is focused on those things, he is not impressed by the limelight. He's not impressed by anything which is happening around him, because as a result of that, no matter what you do, he knows that all that limelight which is coming to him and all that, what can be the best way to say it? All the attention that he's getting as a result of the work that he has produced in the last 5 to 10 to 15 years has become possible for him because he has been working on it for so long. And all that positivity which is now coming his way in terms of the social validation that he's getting is coming because he has worked for it. And he knows that if he stops working at it, all of that appreciation is just going to go out of the window and it is going to vanish like a fart in the wind. So that's why it is very important for you to understand that If you really want to develop the qualities of a professional, you will have to work on these five things. And they're absolutely going to separate you from someone who is a mediocre person. But when you're aiming for exceptionalism, when you're aiming to become professional, you will have to wait. It is not something that you can acquire, it is not a coat that you can wear and then you can go out in the world and then you can get the result or the feedback that you're looking for. It is really a way of life which is going to take a lot of time for you to develop, and you must become content with the process. So, don't live your life as a person whose life is based on fear. You must be willing to explore different things and you must be willing to digest a lot of unfamiliarity and uncertainty. Aim to become a professional and think, what will you do if you were not afraid? That's the best way to live your life.